शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशितारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय पतित पावन श्रील गुरुदेवा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय जगद्गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपदा निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल Hare Krishna, Dharma Pranam. Thank you all so much for joining. So, Nectar of Instruction, Sri Updeshamrit. The verse 5 was completed by Mataji yesterday. So, today we'll start with verse 6. Now, if we see the flow of verses in Sri Updeshamrit, the first verse was talking about the various urges that one needs to control. And one who is able to control these verses is qualified to make disciples all over the world. And then text 2 and text 3 were talking about the principles that are unfavorable and favorable, respectively, for our advancement in Krishna consciousness. And verses 4, 5, and 6 they talk about our dealings with other devotees. Okay, so this section is ending with verse 6, where how our interactions should be with devotees, that is described. So in verse 4 we read, what kind of activities we can do, Preeti Lakshanam, what 6 kind of activities are there through which we can interact with other devotees, and that will improve our attachment, increase our attachment with devotees. And then in text 5, which we were reading till yesterday, that's talking about how our behavior should be towards the Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttamadhikaris. And in today's verse, that is text 6, we are going to read about what is an activity that we should never do for devotees. So all of us, we are very fortunate to be in this society, and there will be many times when we are in the association of different kinds of Vaishnavas. So, text 6 is specifically talking about a situation where we may have this tendency to identify a devotee because of their body. So, even if the body of a devotee is having some apparent defect, that should not be a cause of us passing any judgment on that devotee. Okay, so it's explained very beautifully by Srila Prabhupada, and we have to be very careful because any devotee who has achieved that level of perfection, pure devotion to Lord Krishna, they are to be respected, immensely by us. If we start judging them because of some externals, then that is a big offense. So that is what this verse is talking about. So let's start with the recitation first. Would someone like to read the verse? We can read it like the Brahma Samhita verses. So yeah, Shobha Mataji, you want to read? Please read, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Can you start the meter once, Mataji?
Yeah, Mataji, like Drishte Swabhava Janiterva Puchascha Dosher. Something like that.
Hare Krishna. दृष्टै स्वभावजनितैर्वपुषाश्च दोषै न प्राकृतात्वम् इह भक्त जनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गां वाचां न खालु पुत्पुदफेन पङ्कैर्ब्रह्मद्रवतम् अपगच्छन्ति निरुधर्मै. Synonyms, translation, and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Synonyms, Drishta is seen by ordinary vision. Swabhava Janitai, born of one's own nature. Vapusaha, of the body. Cha and Doshai, by the fault. Na, not. Prakrita, the state of being material. Iha, in this world. Bhakta Janasya, of a pure devotee. Pashyet, one should see. Ganga Ambhasa, charm. Of the Ganges waters. Na, not. Khalu, certainly. Bhutha, pen, hankai. By bubbles, foam, and mud. Brahma Dravatvam, the transcendental nature. Apagachati, is spoiled. Niradharmai, the characteristics of water. Translation. Being situated in his original Krishna consciousness position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. But despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the water of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foams, and mud. The Ganges water do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. Haribol. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Should I
Krishna.
continue?
Thank you. I think Swati Mataji has raised her hand. Mataji, you want to recite the verse? Swati Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, I'll just go. 1 second. Yeah. Thank you, Shobha Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, you can read the
Yes,
shloka.
Mataji. दृष्टै स्वभावजनितैर्वपुषश्च दोषैर्न प्रकृतत्वमिह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गाम्बसं न खलु बुद्बुदाफेन पङ्कैर्ब्रह्मद्रवत्वमपगच्छति निराधर्मै.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Anyone else wants to recite the shloka? Yeah, Kripa Mai Mataji, you want to read the shloka? Kripa Mai Mataji.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji. Am I audible, Mataji?
Ha, yes, Mataji. Please read.
Hare Krishna. This is words. Dishtai Swabhava Janitei Vapusa Cha Daser Na
Share.
Prakritiva Dasher Na Prakitravam Iha Bhakta Janasya Pasya Gangam Basham Nakalu Buddha Buddha Panakir Brahma Dvavatvam Apagachati Niradharmaya. Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishnamurti Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, please.
I will try my Mataji. Okay.
Yes,
Hare
yes,
Krishna.
yes. Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
दृष्ट्यै स्वभावजनतैरुपश्च दोषैर्न प्रकृत्वम् इह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गाभासं न कलो बुबुधफेन पङ्कैर्ब्रह्मधावतम् अपि गच्छति निराधर्महे.
Haribol.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna Mother, little bit
Hare Krishna.
committed mistake. Sorry,
No,
Mother.
no, no, Prabhu. It's very nice. Thank you so much. Yeah. Lalita Vinodini Mataji, you want to read?
हरे कृष्ण माताजी
Hare Krishna.
कृष्ण नमो भगवते वासुदेव दृष्टैः स्वभावजनितैर्वपुषश्च दोषैर्न प्राकृतत्वमिह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गाम्बसां न खलु बुद्बुदपेन पङ्कैर्ब्रह्मद्रवत्वम् अपगच्छति नीरधर्मैः हरे कृष्ण माताजी
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. So, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami is telling us that a person who is situated in his original Krishna conscious position, that is a pure devotee, we should not identify them with their body. Okay, because they don't identify with the body. So, we should not see such a devotee from a materialistic point of view. And indeed, it's mentioned that indeed one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family, a body with a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a diseased or infirm body. So, this verse overlook is very significant because they may have some external defects. We are ultimately in the material world. There may be some deformities in someone's body. Our complexions may be different, our height is different, we all may have some diseases, we may have some scars on our body. In this way, there may be some deformities. Some devotees may not have some some limbs in their body also. There may be some external deformities like that, but we need to overlook them. So we will see them, but then we should not get stuck up at that point. We should overlook them. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, but despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It is exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which sometimes during the rainy season are full of bubbles, foam, and mud. So Ganga Devi is purely spiritual, but being in the material world, because all the pollution is being sent in her waters, and then in the rainy season, there are lots of things that are being washed into the water. So it may look polluted, but that does not take away the spiritual nature of Ganga. In the same way, even though a body of a devotee may have some external deformities, still they are completely spiritual, and we should overlook those external deformities. The Ganges waters do not become polluted. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So Ganga Devi, her purifying spiritual effect is always there, even if it is a rainy season, and she may externally look unclean from the surface, but still those who know her purity, those who know her importance, will still take a bath. Okay, so in this context, there are several types of offenses that we can do towards a Vaishnav, and criticism of the bodily defects of a Vaishnav or criticizing a Vaishnav because of their birth, or seeing them from a material vision. These are also offenses against a Vaishnav. Now we have been very carefully warned against offenses to Vaishnav, right? It's a very, very important thing that we are aware what all constitutes an offense, so that in our dealings with Vaishnavas we are very careful, and we we very carefully avoid those offenses. So if there is a devotee who has some bodily defects, we should not consider that as a defect in them. Okay, and if they are not from a Brahman family, they are not from a Goswami family, that does not mean that their spiritual advancement is any lesser, right? So and seeing them from a material vision, okay, seeing their actions from a material vision, that is also that causes us to make pass judgments towards them, and that is not correct. So Prabhupada is, I mean, Srila Rupa Goswami is warning us against these, and Prabhupada, he is integrating the purport in the translation to help our understanding. So Prabhupada is giving us examples of mistakes that we can make, the kind of judgments that we can pass on devotees. He's giving us an example. There may be some apparent defects, but in spite of these seeming defects externally, we have to understand that the body of the devotee is not polluted, because the body is being used in the service of Krishna. So yes, we know that consciousness is there. We are all souls, and a devotee's consciousness is at a very high level and completely involved in thoughts of Krishna. But the body of the devotee also is spiritual because it is engaged in the service of Krishna. So we should not become judgmental of even the body of a devotee. Some people may say that, okay, when we're talking about criticizing, we're talking about the behavior of a devotee or some words that the devotee has said. But it's not just the behavior, it's also the body. We have to overlook the bodily defects. Overlook, as I mentioned, overlook means that yes, we will see the defects, but we will overlook it. And this list given here is not an exhaustive list, it's an indication. So Srila Prabhupada is helping us understand. Sorry, he's helping us understand through these examples that what kinds of judgments we may start passing on devotees, which we should not. So, this list is not exhaustive. There can be other defects as well. But the basic point is that we have to overlook these defects. And the great thing about devotional life is that there is no, there is no reason why we should just say that someone is disqualified. The nature of bhakti, the nature of Krishna is all inclusive. So, if there are some external defects, still the person is to be considered saintly. Even if a person is not coming from our country, if a person is coming from a Western country, or a person is not born in a Brahmin family or a Goswami family, bhakti does not make these kind of distinctions, this discrimination. It is open to all. So these are the basic points, and we'll discuss further by reading Srila Prabhupada's purport. So would someone like to read? Yeah. Swati Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, you can start reading.
Shuddha Bhakti, the activity of soul proper, in other words, engagement in transcendental loving service of the Lord, is performed in liberated condition. In Bhagavad Gita 14.26, it is stated, Mamcha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Avyabhicharini bhakti means unalloyed devotion. A person engaged in devotional service must be free from material motives. In this Krishna conscious movement, one's consciousness must be changed. If Krishna consciousness is aimed towards material enjoyment, it is material conscious. And if it is aimed towards serving Krishna, it is Krishna conscious. A surrendered soul serves Krishna without material consideration. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. Unadulterated devotional service, which is transcendental to the activities of body and mind, such as jnana, mental speculation, and karma, fruitive work, is called pure bhakti yoga. Bhakti
Yeah,
yoga.
Mataji, now others can read. So Sudha Mataji has also raised her hand. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Sudha Mataji, you can read from where Mataji stopped.
Yeah, Bhakti Yoga is a proper activity of the soul, and when one actually engages in unalloyed, uncontaminated devotional service, he is already liberated. Sagunan Samatityaita. Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material condition, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. One should therefore not see a pure devotee from a materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. As explained in the previous verse, there are three types of devotees: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari, and Uttama Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and non-devotee. He is simply concerned with worshipping the deity in the temple. A Madhyama Adhikari, however, can distinguish between the devotee and the non-devotee, as well as between the devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee, and the non-devotee in different ways. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Mataji.
you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Rekha Mataji, you can read this next para, then we'll discuss.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. The highlighted part, is it?
Yes, 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 Mataji. No one should criticize.
No one should criticize the bodily defects of a pure devotee. If there are such defects, they should be overlooked. What should be taken into account is the spiritual master's main business, which is devotional service, pure service to the Supreme Lord. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 9.30, Apichet sudurachara bhajate mam ananya bhag sadhureva cha mantavya samyog vyavasito hi sa. Even if a devotee sometimes seems to engage in abominable activities, he should be considered a sadhu, a saintly person, because his actual identity is that of one engaged in the loving service of the Lord. In other words, he is to be considered as an ordinary human being.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for reading. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that the devotional service to Lord Krishna is not at a material plane. Okay. So Shuddha Bhakti, the activity of the soul proper, or engagement in the transcendental loving of service of the Lord, is performed in a liberated condition. Okay, so that service itself is of a transcendental nature, and it is performed in a liberated condition. It is not something that can be taken materialistically. And Prabhupada is quoting this very beautiful Bhagavad Gita verse where it is mentioned that one who is engaging in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So the performance of devotional service is of such a high level. So a person who is performing this devotional service and who has achieved that level of devotion to Lord Krishna, we can understand that such a person is of a very, very elevated consciousness, and thus they should be respected immensely. So judging such a person by some small apparent, because of some small apparent material defects, is a very big offense. So next Prabhupada is saying that anya bicharina bhakti means unalloyed devotion. That means it is not mixed up with any other motivations, and a person who is engaged in devotional service must be free from material motives. In this Krishna consciousness movement, one's consciousness must be changed. So our consciousness has to be taken from material enjoyment towards serving Krishna. That is Krishna consciousness. Right now, the problem is that the motivation is material enjoyment, but that is material consciousness and it should be aimed towards serving Krishna. That's when it becomes Krishna consciousness. And a surrendered soul serves Krishna without any material considerations. Okay. And unalloyed devotional service, which is transcendental to the activities of the body and mind, such as jnana karma, is called pure bhakti yoga. So this pure bhakti yoga, which is not contaminated with any other desire, not any desire for any siddhi or for any material any material benefit, or even any gyan, that is mental speculation. When one is engaging in this kind of a devotional service, that is called unalloyed devotional service, and such a person is already liberated. So a person who is already liberated, we can understand that they have transcended these the material considerations fully. So Prabhupada is saying that Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material considerations, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. Sorry. So that's why we should never see a devotee from a materialistic point of view. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. So that is the problem. If we are seeing defects in other devotees, that means the defect is in us. So if we are full of defects ourselves, then we kind of, impose that picture on the world itself. If we are good at heart, we sort of see that everyone is good at heart. We are more trusting because we think everyone is good. But if we ourselves are full of ulterior motives, then we'll always be doubting everyone else. So we have to understand that we need to develop our devotional service. And in such a state, we'll be able to see that we should not judge anyone materialistically because of their material condition. There are three types of devotees, as mentioned in the previous verse: Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam Adhikari. And the Kanishta Adhikari cannot distinguish between a devotee and a non devotee. And this is what we read, right, in verse 5. They're just concerned with the deity in the temple, but then they're not interacting with other devotees. A Madhyam Adhikari can distinguish between a devotee and a non devotee, as well as between the devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotee, and the non devotee in different ways. Now, Prabhupada is explaining that the external defects that we may be seeing in a devotee should never be criticized. Yes, we will see them, but we should not criticize a devotee because of that. Right? This is a big offense. They have to be overlooked. And what is the thing that we should focus our attention on? That is their teaching. So, spiritual masters' main purpose, their main motivation in life is preaching devotional service and pure service to the Supreme Lord. So then Prabhupada is quoting this verse from Bhagavad Gita, where not just the external defects of the body, but even some actions may need to be overlooked. 9.30, Lord Krishna says that even if a devotee seems to engage in abominable activities, still they are to be considered saintly, because his actual identity is that he is engaged in service of the Lord. So he should not be considered as an ordinary human being. So even the actions is it will till that extent we have to be very careful that we don't judge, because the level of a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is very, very incomprehensible. So we cannot understand, what they are, at what level they are. So some actions, if we are not able to understand, then that means it's a lack of understanding on our part. But we should not go and start judging them. Just because my limited material understanding does not understand some action, does not mean that that action is wrong. Okay, so we have to be very careful that this judging mentality has to be taken out completely. Now, one may say that why does a devotee have a bodily defect? We all know the law of karma. So, this means that they have done some bad karma, some sins in their past life, because of which they got a deformed body or any external defect in their body in this life. So, now here, this is a word of caution that understanding the principles of karma, that doesn't mean that we have to engage in doing a post mortem. We have to understand the principles of karma, because for the purpose of prognosis, understanding ourself and having a caution ourself. A post-mortem will mean that when we see a person suffering, then we start thinking that, oh, they must have done some sin in the past, and that is why they are suffering like this. Now, it is not our business to try and inquire what bad karma they have done because of which he or she is suffering. The principle of karma is not to understand, what wrong activities they have done. Rather, it is so that I don't do any wrong activity, so that I don't suffer in the future. I don't suffer the consequences. So if we start bringing karma in our relationships, in our interactions with others, then we will choke out all the love out of each relationship. For example, if a baby is crying, if a baby has fever, or a baby fell down and the baby is crying, then will the mother sit and analyze, oh, the baby is suffering because of some bad karma in his or her past, so this is how it's going to be? Is that what a mother does? No, the mother takes utmost care of the baby in that situation. So our devotional culture is a culture of sensitivity. Lord Chaitanya told Srila Sanatan Goswami, when Sanatan Goswami came to Puri, he was coming through the forest. You have all read this. He was coming through the forest, so he drank some contaminated water, because of which he had boils on his body. And he was hesitating to meet Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya very lovingly embraced Srila Sanatan Goswami. And he told Sanatan Goswami that his boils were, he didn't tell Sanatan Goswami that, oh, Sanatan Goswami, your boils are because of your bad karma. He said that as a sannyasi, I should be able to look beyond your body. So I should be able to look beyond one's karma also. So the understanding, the learning for us is that we should not see that the other person's karma is what has caused their deformity. We should not we should not be worried about others' karma, but we should see what our dharma in that situation is. If we start thinking everything in terms of karma, then it's a very distorted society we'll be living in. Because for example, if a person has earned money in a proper way and a thief comes into this person's house and steals, now if this person goes and complains to the king that, oh, such a such person came to my house and this theft has been committed, and the king says that, oh, this was just your karma because of which these things have been stolen from you. So if we think like this, then where will justice remain in the situation? So when we deal with people, we deal with them based on their this life situation, what situation they are in right now. Otherwise, we'll become very insensitive. If we just start putting everything on karma, we'll become very insensitive. So if that person has earned money honestly and he has been robbed, then we have no right to say that this is his past karma. The king's duty is to consider the situations currently, and he has to get the robber caught and punish him, get the money back to the person from whom it was stolen. This is the king's dharma. So we should be worried about what is our dharma right now, not start analyzing what is other people's karma. And if we don't see the philosophy of karma in the proper perspective, and the proper perspective is accountability for ourselves, that I am accountable, therefore I should act properly. If we don't do like this, then we'll just end up judging everyone based on their past karma, and that is where we are going to commit offenses. So for devotees who are advanced in spirituality, we will make spiritual advancement by serving them. So what bad karma they may or may not have in their past life is not our business, and we should not see their bodily defects in any situation. Pure devotees are on a transcendental plane. Sometimes they may be taking over the sins of their disciples, and that is why there is an apparent problem in their body or a disease in their body. But we have to know that their body is not material, so they are not suffering because they are relishing the taste of love of Lord Krishna. So we should not see that, oh, such and such Maharaj ji, he's so unwell, he's been so unwell for so long, there's so much suffering he's taking. They are not taking suffering. See, suffering is something that is at the mental plane. Their body is not giving them suffering. Yes, they take the sins of their disciples, so that's why the disciples should be very, very cautious not to break any regulative principles. But seeing the situation of the guru, seeing the situation of the spiritual master, we cannot get judgmental that, oh, what wrong things they have done because of which they are suffering like this. We should never think like that. Our sole motivation should be to serve these devotees, because that is how we are going to make a spiritual advancement in our lives. And this quote by Srila Prabhupada from Srimad Bhagavad Gita about a devotee who's accidentally committed a durachar. So in the past, if they have done, so that was in the past. We have to see what is their situation currently. They are now serving Krishna sincerely. So that's why they should be considered as sadhus. So we should not let thoughts of karma contaminate our thinking. The defects are just at the surface, and because a devotee is serving Krishna, he is glorious. It is said that every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. We don't know if we are criticizing a devotee because of some apparent durachar that we may see, or some apparent defect that we see. We don't know what their actual position in devotional life is, right? So this is a very risky thing to do, and that is why whether Whether it is a devotee that I'm very familiar with, or a sannyasi, or someone that I may hear about. We have to uh, we have to be very, very careful and very stern with ourselves, that we don't get into this judgmental tendency with devotees. Whatever defects are there in their body, we should put them aside. They may have some karma impact, but we should know that that was in the past. Now they are situated on the advanced platform of devotional service, and that is what we should focus on. I mean, getting to that level itself, we know how much of a struggle it is to overcome our mind, to overcome all the distractions, to overcome our different attachments. It is so difficult. And someone who has overcome all that, they have reached a very high level, and we are no ones to judge them just because of some externals. So the Ganga water, this analogy is given that the Ganga water may have some dirt, but she still remains transcendental. She's coming from the lotus feet of Lord Vaman Dev, and that spiritual essence is still there. That is not lost, even though she may look externally dirty. So in the same way, externally we may see some defects or some behavior that we may not understand, but their spiritual, their transcendental nature does not change. Now this example of Ganga, if the water we say that okay, the water is still transcendental. So does that mean that if there is a lot of pollution and the water has become toxic, we still go and drink heaps and heaps of it? No. In such a state, we may just take one drop or sprinkle water on ourselves. So, but irrespective of what happens to the material level, the spiritual impact will still be there. But we have to know that we are in this material world, we have material bodies. We don't have, I mean, this body is subject to a disease, and it's subject to infection. So that doesn't, so we have to be careful. We should not go and drink water that is full of pollution. Sadly, a lot of the toxic waste is just flushed out into our divine rivers. That is a very sad thing, but then we have to be mindful of the practicality of the situation. But even with that apparent pollution that we may see, we have to understand that that does not take away the spiritual transcendental nature of Mother Ganga. Now, in this regard of not judging, there are two types of mistakes that we may end up making. One is that we see just the externals. So we just see the material body of a devotee with the defects that they are suffering from, and we think that this is because of sinful reactions. And the other defect is seeing the transcendental aspect and totally ignoring the material aspect. So the everything, in our devotional life, there is a material aspect and there is a spiritual aspect. So just considering only one of these and completely ignoring the other, that's totally wrong. So if we are just considering the material aspect, ignoring the spiritual, that is totally wrong. If we are just considering the spiritual aspect and completely ignoring the material aspect, that is also wrong. Now, why is this wrong? Where we are just considering the spiritual aspect, ignoring the material aspect. This we can understand with the help of some examples. For example, uh, a pure devotee has written a book, and that book requires to be edited. Now, if we just think that, oh, no, no, the pure devotee has written, so everything is perfect, everything is spiritual, and we cannot do any edits to this book. Now, this is a problem because there may be some spellings that may need updation or correction. There may be some grammatical things here and there which needs to be corrected. Because if we send out a book, and this book is going not to the devotees, but this book is for everyone. And the aim is that non-devotees should also read these books and become devotees. And now here we are sending out a book in the midst of non-devotees, and we send out a book with defects. When are people going to take us seriously? No, they won't. So like Srila Prabhupada had also told Jayadvaita Maharaj and other senior devotees that make the edits. What is required to be done? Make those changes. Prabhupada himself had said that. So that's why those updations were made. So if there are any grammatical corrections, spellings, etc., we may correct them, but the spiritual message is not to be edited. It's not that I go and change the essence or I go and change the meaning of what Srila Prabhupada has written. No, that is the spiritual part of it. That has to be kept intact. Only some, grammatical, etc. things, they can be changed so that this transcendental knowledge can be accessed by everyone. People in the world are just waiting for us to make a mistake. You see how it is, right? So many devotees, they are quoted out of context. Their small clippings of their words are circulated and people misinterpret it because they cannot take it that how can someone be so pure? How can someone be advancing so much? And how can someone be criticizing material life so much? So they will look for a chance where we have made a mistake, but that's what the thing is. We have to present this perfect knowledge in a perfect way materially also, right? That is the responsibility of the devotees. So this is one example where we are completely ignoring the material aspect. We should not do that. We have to consider the material impact also. Or say in our temple, someone may ask that why do you make Matajis and Prabhus sit in different sides of the temple? Ultimately, we are all spiritual beings. We are all souls. Soul is same. So why this discrimination? Yes, the soul is spiritual. The soul is completely transcendental, but we are still in this material body, and there is a chance of many modes acting on us, a tendency to commit mistakes, and all those things are there. So that is why these externals are also important, but the whole thing is that the philosophy, the main core aspect, that should not be changed. Now here, in the purport, the next para is where Srila Prabhupada is talking about the birth of a family. So let's quickly read that. Would someone like to read this para, even though a pure devotee may not be?
Hare Krishna Mataji, shall I?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Even though a pure devotee may not be born in Brahmana or Goswami family, if he engaged in the service of the Lord, he should not be neglected. In actuality, there cannot be a family of Goswamis based on material considerations, caste, or heredity. The Goswami title is actually the monopoly of the pure devotees. Thus, we speak of the six Goswamis headed by Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami had practically become Mohammedans and had therefore changed their names to Dabir Kasa and Sakara Malik. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made them Goswamis. Therefore, the Goswami title is not hereditary. The word Goswami refers to one who can control his senses, who is the master of senses. A devotee is not controlled by the senses, but is the controller of the senses. Consequently, he should be called Swami or Goswami, even though he may not be born in Goswami family.
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare
Thank
Krishna
you so
Mataji.
much, Mataji. So this is something that used to come up, in front of Srila Prabhupada many times. People would ask Prabhupada that how could he give sannyas diksha, how could he give Brahman diksha to the mlechas, the Westerners. And Prabhupada said that that was in the past. What was their past is gone. Now their body has become surrendered and devoted to Lord Krishna. So that is the thing. We should not stay obsessed with the externals. Having this kind of mentality that only Goswamis can give diksha, only Goswamis can do temple worship, only Brahmanas can do temple worship or teach our scriptures. That is being obsessed with the externals. So there were Goswamis who were opposing Srila Prabhupada that preaching is the monopoly of Goswamis. So how can others do it? And Srila Prabhupada said that Goswami means one who has conquered one's senses. So it is actually a monopoly of the pure devotees of Lord Krishna. So one should not reject devotees just because of the external considerations that they were not born in a Goswami family or that they were not born in a Brahman family. And Srila Prabhupada is saying that, the original Goswamis of Vrindavan, if you follow this principle that only someone who's taken birth in a Goswami or a Brahman family, they should be only doing the service of the Lord. Then what about Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami? They were serving the Nawab and they had practically become Mohammedans. Even their names were changed to Dabir Khas and Sakar Malik. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made them Goswamis. Therefore, this title of Goswami is not hereditary. Definitely not hereditary. It refers to one who can control his senses, who is a master of the senses. And a devotee is not controlled by the senses, but a devotee controls senses. So, consequently, he should be called a Swami or Goswami, even though he may not be born in a Goswami family. No, there may be some devotees who are actually born in Goswami families and who themselves are also great devotees. So that's wonderful. But there may be some who are not born in a Goswami or Brahman family, but they have all the pure qualities that are required in a guru, that are required in a Brahmana. So then they should be considered as Brahmanas, as Goswamis. And this concept of being judging and condemning the devotees, this is there in our history also. We see many times there are many instances of saints who were coming from lower grades of society, and they were condemned by the so-called higher caste, but we should see that how the Lord ultimately granted them protection, right? So these externals, they don't have any importance in the eyes of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna sees us inside out. He sees through and through. He knows what is our level of consciousness. He knows what is our level of commitment. And if a devotee, even though they may be born in a low class family or not born in a Goswami family, if they have that purity of intent, that pure devoted love for Lord Krishna will always be there to protect such a pure devotee. Bhakti is always very, very inclusive. It is not limited to gender, it is not limited to age, to caste, creed, nationality, nothing. It is for everyone. So everyone was included. Everyone was it's inclusive of everyone. And this example of Srila Haridas Thakur is there, where he was beaten through marketplaces. And at that time, who were the people who actually complained to the Nawab? Because there were so many other Hindus who were chanting. Why would the Nawab specially notice Haridas Thakur? Because it was actually the Hindus who went and complained to the Nawab that this person is actually born in a Mohammedan family, but now he is chanting Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna should be done only by us born Hindus. It should be only done by us Brahmanas, and this person who is born in a Yavana family, he cannot chant the names of Lord Krishna. Right? This is what they felt, and they complained to the Nawab. And then the Nawab gave the punishment to Srila Haridas Thakur. But then that Lord Chaitanya himself was there to protect Srila Haridas Thakur. Nothing happened. They beat him through 21 marketplaces, 22 marketplaces, and they threw him in the river ultimately. Right? But nothing happened to him. No, externally they thought that, oh, he's dead, they threw him in the river, but he came back, right? So the Lord is always there to protect his pure, unalloyed devotees. And in other traditions also, we see that Jesus Christ was executed because people wanted to, return to the essence. The Jews actually complained to Roman authorities. So people wrongly thought that the essence of religion is following their particular class, but it was actually Jesus Christ who was trying to bring everyone back to the real essence, back to the understanding that there is one God, how we should serve and love that one God. But there were oppositions for him also. So this is all happening because we are seeing externals. Oh, that person is not from a Christian family, that person is in a Jewish tradition, and that person is not from India, they have not taken birth in a pure pure Goswami family in India. All these are external considerations, and judging a devotee by these externals is an offense at the lotus feet of that devotee. So we have to be very cautious. And does it mean that if one is a pure devotee, then all the external deformities will just go away? That if someone becomes a pure devotee, their complexion will suddenly change, or any scars on their body, or any other physical disease will just vanish? Does that mean so? No. These things are there, but we need to know that these things are still external. That does not stop their ability to preach the pure message of Krishna consciousness. That is what we have to understand. That the offense on our part is when we think that due to those defects, the devotee cannot give the pure message of Godhead now. Just because this is a problem with them, now they are not qualified to give the message of love of God. If we start thinking like this, that is when we are making offense. So that thinking is very, very wrong. And that really, it is not just a matter of social convention that, oh, it socially doesn't look nice that we judge a person by the externals. It's not about it. It's not just about that. It is an offense on our part if we are judging devotees on the basis of externals. So, whether a person is born in a low family, they have bad complexion, deformed or diseased or informed body, we have to overlook these things. These imperfections may seem very prominent for people in general, but we have to understand that the pure body of a devotee is transcendental. It doesn't get polluted. So that's why Prabhupada has given us these, some examples of how we can be judgmental towards the physical appearance of a devotee. These things we have to avoid. And like I mentioned, that this list is not exhaustive. There can be other things also. A person's manner of speaking, for example, there are some devotees who sometimes may have a very strong, uh, you know, strong accent when they speak. So we start judging them because of that. Or, sometimes we say that, oh, that person's pronunciation is not very clear, or that person used a wrong word here and there. Now, if we just keep ourselves stuck up at these things, when we are hearing a lecture, if we are just, just staying at the surface and just seeing these external things, then we have heard the lecture, but we have not really heard the lecture because we have not imbibed the essence. If there is some great devotee who has come in our congregation and they are giving us a class or they're giving some instructions, and all we are looking at, why is this person, so dark complexioned? Why does this person not speak very clearly? Or why does this person need a stick to walk? What is wrong with this person? Then we have just missed such a great opportunity of hearing from a pure soul of Krishna. So the essence should never be forgotten. When we are in this wonderful society, we are interacting with so many people. The essence of all the teachings, the essence of all motivation is getting closer to Lord Krishna. So anything that is even slightly taking us away from our path should be very carefully avoided. So judging a devotee because of external conditions is a big offense. We should never be doing that. And we have to understand that their position is completely transcendental. If we commit this offense, we'll be hampering our progress. On the other hand, if we are able to overlook these apparent deformities, like Srila Prabhupada is advising us, if we do that, then we can render loving service to the devotee, and that will give us great spiritual advancement. Okay, so we'll stop at this level. We'll continue again next week. Any comments, any suggestions, any realizations?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Mataji,
Yes, Prabhu.
last week we have been to Vrindavan.
Okay.
Mataji, that's why I'm irregular in attending the classes for last week. So thing
Oh,
is,
okay. Yes,
and
Prabhu.
we have been to Vrindavan, one Prabhuji is staying nearby,
Mm-hmm.
Radha.
Okay.
He used to take classes in morning.
Mm-hmm.
Some class.
Okay.
You please see Mataji.
Hmm.
After seeing us, he became very overwhelmed. That particularly he has embraced me and then blessed me. So we can't be in public road only. So you believe it or not, I myself feel that I have blessed and I have liberated, liberated from this
Hare
world. The devotees, to what extent they were reciprocal with the people in the
Yeah.
conscience. So really, what your kind self has told, I felt that happiness at that moment. Oh yes,
Yes.
oh Prabhu, I am expecting you in this forum. I have not seen you. Where you have been? You please come. We had a photo. You click the photo of Prabhu. So
Mm.
you used to told me. You are the retired person. I am also retired. Let me become good friends.
Mm-hmm. Hari bol. Wow.
Hearing this and then enjoying this moment, Mataji, maybe this is no need to be in the material world for a longer time. This itself is the most for me particularly. So how the association of devotees makes us so pleasant, and then so become lighter and light. So really, that is a memorable situation for me. Thank you, Mataji. What you are told, the greatness of devotees, greatness of.
Yes.
So I felt that physically I have felt that. I am grateful
Yes.
to Mataji for having explained. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hari bol. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for sharing this experience. See, practically, we see the devotees are not ordinary. And like Prabhu said, thank you so much, Prabhu. It was very nice hearing about your experience. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
My Mataji, you've raised your hand. You want to say something, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Sorry for the disturbance. Nothing, Mataji. I want to please read that verse, text 5, no, Mataji. Krishneti yasya. Kindly read, no, Mataji.
Sorry,
Verse
Mataji,
number
didn't
5.
get you. Uh-huh.
Verse number 5.
You want to read that
Krishneti
again?
yes, Mataji. You please read and show me, Mataji.
Okay, okay. You mean the meter? In what meter we read?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, I'll just 1 minute. I'll share this.
Sorry, Mataji, for the trouble.
No trouble at all, Mataji. Yeah, so this is also we read in Brahma Samhita meter only. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantam isham shushushaya bhajana vigyamananyamanya nindadishunya hridamipsita sangalabhya.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Very nice. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you all so much for joining. Very wonderful verse we started today, and we'll continue next week also. Many different points are coming up in Prabhupada's beautiful purport. So see you all next week. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री उपदेशामृत की जय, श्रीला रूप गोस्वामी की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री गुरु महाराज की जय. Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you,
Dandavat
Mataji. Hare
Pranam.
Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
Pranam.